And for those of you that don't know what swaggy means, it's they're very nice, they're elegant, they're fancy. Sharp is another way to put it. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of LJ's Garage. Behind me is a 2020 Hyundai Elantra SEL. Hyundai says this is both stylish and dependable little sedan, so we're going to find out exactly what that entails today. So this is the 6th generation of the Hyundai Elantra. Hyundai's been doing this for quite some time now. In 2019, they did a quick little redesign, and it actually turned out pretty handsome in my opinion. The one thing that I do have to say is I'm going to say Hyundai because that's how us Americans tend to say it, but it is technically pronounced Hyundai or Hyundai, something along those lines, but I'm not that fancy. So let's get right into it. Starting at $18,000, you get the SE trim, which is the base trim. It does have a lot of safety features. Then there's the SEL, which this model is, and that adds a few more options. Then there's the value, the limited, and then the top of the line, eco or sport. One gives you more horsepower, one gives you better gas mileage, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Up front, you get these triangular headlights, which actually look pretty good. They make the car look nice and sharp. You got a hexagonal grille, which is kind of the look that Hyundai is going for nowadays. Overall, everything looks good up front. These are halogen bulbs, but you do have the option to upgrade to LEDs. Before I go ahead and pop the hood, you do get a couple transmission options, and by a couple I mean exactly just two. The first option is a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission, and then the other option is going to be the CVT, or as Hyundai calls it, the Intelligently Variable Transmission, IVT, so you'll see. Yep, that's an engine all right. There's an alternator and stuff. Yep. This is a 2-liter 4-cylinder that makes about 147 horsepower and does 0 to 60 in about 7.8 seconds. What's the gas mileage, you may be wondering? 30 city, 40 highway. But what do you get if you choose the eco motor with only like 120 something horsepower, which I don't know why you would, but hear me out. With the eco, you only get 33 city and 41 highway, so not much improvement. And then if you're one of those people that really like to zoom, then you go for the sport, which has 201 horsepower. And I'm sure it's pretty quick and fun, but do you really need it? Probably not. Will it make a whole lot of difference? Probably not. And there's a lot more options that you get with the sport, which I can touch on later. But in a nutshell, if you don't make it that far, you do get a better suspension. You get the sports seats, which are pretty swaggy if you ask me. And for those of you that don't know what swaggy means, it's they're very nice, they're elegant, they're fancy. Sharp is another way to put it. But overall, those are your transmission options and your engine options. Something else to point out is that if you want the dual clutch transmission, you're not going to get it unless you go for the sport or the eco. And it's kind of a shame because I love Hyundai's dual clutch transmission. Something else that I want to point out is that you don't get keyless entry. That's really fancy stuff that you have to move up to the higher trims to get. So be ready for that. But you do get a slew of safety features. I'll touch on those in a little bit. And we'll move to the back of the car and we'll talk about the trunk. Let's touch on the value edition really quick. It's got heated seats, smart trunk, sunroof, and push start. If you decide to go with the eco, you get more USB ports, stop start, and different wheels. The limited adds wireless charging and nicer wheels. If you do want leather, you can get leather with the limited. Before we get into the trunk and talk about all the fun stuff in there, interesting story. This was not supposed to be called the Elantra. It was actually supposed to be called the Lante, but that was too close to the Mitsubishi Elante, and then too close to the Kia something, the Elon, something along those lines. So Hyundai decided to get creative, and short story, long story, whatever, this is how we got the Elantra. It's good enough to fit maybe two of me, maybe one of me, and then another half of me, depending on how you rearrange your bodies in your trunk. Luckily, the seats do fold flat, so if you have someone back here and they don't pull that emergency exit, they can just push these seats in, and then... So, this is the seats with everything folded down, and you can actually see you got quite a bit of room. You're not going to be hauling lumber or nothing crazy, but you can get something sizable back there. Hey guys, so I'm in the back seat, and there isn't a whole lot of magic back here. I can't say this is where the Elantra shines, but you do get a cup holder here, cup holder there, and no cup holders there. I'm 5'9", I'm sitting comfortable. This seat's set for someone about, I say like 6 foot tall, 6'1", 6'2", maybe could get away with it. Their knees would probably be touching a little bit up there, but I still have a little bit of room I could give them if I was so generous, but I would tell them that it's a little snug back here, so they would have to suffer up front. You don't get any rear vents. There's really nothing else. You do get some handles that you can hold on to. That's the Elantra back seats. I want to take my, imaginary hat off to Hyundai, because for every Hyundai sold, Hyundai donates a little bit of that money to Hope on Wheels, which is a cancer foundation and all that good stuff. So they do a lot of good with the money that people put into their company. And these are the wheels that you get on the SEL. They are alloys, so no more of those plastic little hubcap thingies. They are 16-inch wheels. Most people don't care about that kind of stuff. So if you do go for the eco and sport, you get the 17s or 18s, which I guess is kind of nice if you're all about that kind of stuff. But for the Elantra, I don't really think that it matters. It's got some Kumo tires. And this is what everything looks like from the driver's perspective. As you can see, if you've been in any of the modern Hyundais or Hyundais, they are pretty similar, no real difference. Funny enough, this steering wheel can actually be found in the Elantra GT and the Veloster and then the Hyundai Kona. So it's nothing really spectacular, but it gets the job done. It is a wheel that turns the wheels. So there's a lot of wheel stuff going on, but it does a good job. And I think it's okay. As for your gauges, they are analog, nothing really special there. You can go through the menu and you can see a couple different things. This right here, I want to point out, it says your attention level. So Hyundai has a system that monitors how distracted you are or drowsy, and it'll beep and let you know that you need to take a break. The next thing that I want to point out is the forward safety. So that's your forward collision avoidance, and you can set it to where it does the warning only, or you can have it where it actually brakes for you. So you can set all that. You've got your lane safety settings here, active lane keep assist, which is actually right there. And then you could just set it to where it's just a departure warning, or it actually fights with you and keeps you in your lane. It's a really good system, and I'll touch on that later. And then your blind spot safety. But all those are standard on the SE and SEL, so you get a lot of safety features packaged into your Elantra. On this left side, there's a couple more things that you can touch here. So you've got your blind spot monitoring. You can turn that on and off from here. And then you've also got your lane keep. You can turn that on and off from here. Everything works pretty well. And if you look at this side mirror at the top left, you'll notice that there's your little indicator for when someone's in your blind spot. On the turnstock, you'll see that you've got your auto headlight controls here. And then Hyundai does a pretty cool job of whenever you turn the stock, you can actually see where everything is in there. My one problem is then if you leave it in auto, this is no longer straight. So if you leave it in off, you'll see it's nice and flush. It bugs me a little bit, but minor thing. You've got cup holders, 2 of them, and on the doors, you've got another 1 cup holder each. If you go for the higher trims, you can get the Infinity sound system, but on the SEL, the sound system it's all right. It gets the job done. The best part of all this is if you go into your menu, you can see right here, you've got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, standard. So that's pretty nice. And if you go for the SEL, what you do also get is dual climate control. That's right. Dual climate control on a sub $20,000 car. You do have selectable drive modes as well if you do want to try to get a more sporty feel or go for more eco-friendly settings, just so you know you have the option. Hyundai gives you that. So what's it like to drive the Hyundai Elantra? Well, it's all right. If you've driven a Civic or a Corolla, it's a lot like those. Not really a whole lot to ask for, but one thing I want to point out really quick is that Hyundai's lane keep system is pretty, darn good. So I like to hold the wheel a little bit loosely with this system, just enough that it knows that my hands are on the wheel, and it keeps me right in my lane, and I can let go of the wheel and it just does its thing. It's gonna beep in a second because it gets pretty angry that I'm not keeping my hand on the wheel. But if you finesse the system a little bit, you can kind of let it do a lot of the work for you. Well, I guess it's not gonna beep at me right now because it's got a great alignment, so it's just going straight. But the minute, come on, beep at me. I told these people that it would beep. Oh my God, you need to beep. Why aren't you beeping? You're making me look like a liar. Okay, fine, whatever. But it's not the slowest thing I've ever driven. It's not very fast either. I'm gonna go ahead and floor it in a little bit once this lady stops looking at me. And it moves. I mean, it's not a bad car at all, but it's not gonna impress anyone. It's not gonna blow the doors off anyone. The styling though is impressive. I think Hyundai's come a long way, and then with their 10-year something 100,000 mile warranty, I have to look exactly what they're offering nowadays, but that's one of the best warranties that are available out there, and that alone kind of makes it worthwhile. Plus they have their little 3-year maintenance plans that they offer, so all your oil changes and everything are kind of covered. There's a lot of good value to Hyundai, and I personally like cars like this that are just cars, because there are people that care about just having a car, but they don't care about the horsepower, the performance, the tires, the wheel size, you know, the RPMs. I don't know, they just don't care about those things. You could tell them that it's got a dual clutch and they're like, cool, dual clutch, I've got one of those. They don't know what that means, but they enjoy a car that gets good fuel economy because they don't like to pay for it. They just need a car out of necessity. And that's why I like this great value that the Elantra offers. So in a nutshell, the Elantra is great value. I've probably said that like 10 times through this video, but it really is. Hyundai gives you a lot, and I know that Hyundai has had to make up for the rebranding thing they had back in the 90s where people thought all those little Econo boxes weren't worth anything, but this has changed. It's not like that anymore, and I really could stand behind recommending this car to someone. It's solid. But anyways, I won't bore you guys with any more Elantra talk. Thank you so much for checking out yet another video in LJ's Garage. Be sure to hit that like button, comment button, and if you're new to the channel, all that good stuff, consider subscribing, and I will see you guys next time.